On this episode, I'm so excited. 2025, and now I feel like the year's really started with my good friend Trey Cortez is coming back on. Of course, we're going to talk whiskey, but he is putting together a great conference with the AAPG Conference Southwest section here in the great state of Fort Worth. And also, we're going to be talking about the Strong Formation a little bit. I'm going to dig some info because I do plan on doing something out there on my own. But all that being said, we talk about that and much more on this episode of The Crude Truth.
In 1901, at Spindletop Hill near Beaumont, the future of Texas changed dramatically as, like a fountain of fortune, thousands of barrels of oil burst from the earth towards the sky. Soon, Detroit would be cranking out Model Ts by the millions, and America was on the move, thanks to the black gold being produced in Texas. Now, more than a century later, the vehicles are different, but nothing else has truly changed. Sure, there may be many other alternative energy sources like wind and solar and electric. But let's be honest, America depends on oil and entrepreneurs. And if the USA is truly going to be independent, it has to know the crude truth.
This episode is brought to you by LFS Chemistry. We are committed to being good stewards of the environment. We are providing the tools so you can be too. NAPE Expo, where deals happen. Air Compressor Solutions. When everything is on the line, Air Compressor Solutions is the dependable choice to keep commercial business powered up. Sandstone Group. Exec Crew. Elevate your network, elevate your knowledge. Texas Star Alliance. Pecos Country Operating. Fueling our future.
Well, hello again, and thank you as always. Man, I tell you what, these chairs, they just get me. Thank you again, as always, for tuning in for another episode of The Crude Truth. We are back here at our newly refurbished Fort Worth studios, and I'm just not quite used to them yet. I'm just wanting to kind of slouch and just kind of not be professional looking. I don't know what to do with my hands right now. But as I mentioned in the teaser, no ands, ifs, or buts. Trey Cortez is here again. Trey, how are you, sir?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me, sir.
No. Thank you as always, because God knows you are always so busy. And right now you have been on it with this AAPG Conference Southwest section. I mean, I was telling you earlier, I don't know if I've even mentioned it yet, but the amount of people, the amount of sponsorships, you're rivaling some of these quarterly AADE events right now with just the amount of sponsorships and all the greatness that you're doing for the nonprofits that you're working for as well. How are you? What's going on?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm busy. It's funny. I moved from a really fast-paced private equity company to Burnett, and one of the benefits of that is that we're cash flow, and so we usually don't move super fast. Mm-hmm. So I was able to sign up for some things like this to serve and help. But as soon as I get this big position and role as the conference chair, we get busy at Burnett. So it's been busy, and I've been doing a lot of work over lunches. But yeah, it's really coming together well, and people seem to be enjoying and excited about what it's going to be.
Wow. Well, the other reason I wanted to have you back on, because I hadn't tasted any good whiskeys. And in fact, I just now finished the bottle of that Macallan 15, I think that you recommended. I mean, that was something you just literally get it and you just enjoy and you sip. And that was amazing.
Yeah.
And the lineup you got for today is just ridiculous. Look at you. You're already excited.
Yeah,
but which one do you want to start with while we talk about what you've been up to?
Well, yeah, I'll do a little precursor. And so I have 2 bottles here from TX Whiskey because we're going to be hosting the social event for this conference. We'll talk about it later at TX Whiskey at the Whiskey Ranch here. This isn't our first time to do an event there. It's been really successful. So a good starter for the day would be this. This is TX Whiskey's blended bourbon, or blended whiskey, sorry. It's a really easy drinker, lower proof. It's only 41% alcohol, and it's sweetened.
We'll get one for wine too.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Sweetened?
Yeah, they basically, distilleries have a major choice to make whenever they're setting up, because bourbon takes a while to age, and so you don't get cash flow very quickly. So what TX did was they sourced this whiskey from Kentucky, and they added some things to it, made it a little sweeter, made it easier to drink, and it turns out to be essentially how I describe this as a better Crown Royal. So
Okay.
it's sweet, really simple, easy to drink. It's good in cocktails, but it's really low entry proof.
Oh. Oh yeah. Simple.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
crazy. Oh, that aftertone. Right?
Little vanilla.
Yes.
Yeah, really, really nice, easy drinker. Some people think it's too sweet. If you're a hardcore bourbon drinker, it's a little too sweet. But for people that aren't used to and don't like that really high alcohol bite,
Okay.
it's nice and easy to drink. It's a good starter.
It is a good starter. Wine, by the way, good to see you. I have not been with you in a while. You've been over in Dallas for the last, 6 to 12 months.
It's been a second, yeah.
And you've been rocking it over there. I mean, don't get me wrong, but glad to have you back, sir.
Absolutely. Glad to be back.
So
It's been
cheers.
great.
What do you think
Cheers.
of this one?
Oh, this one's great. The sweetness is good, like you were saying. It's sharp, but not like a bitter sharp. It's like nice edge to it. So it's really clean. It goes down really nicely.
The great thing that happened with TX is that this took off. Like, it's so good for what it is. They knew it wasn't what they wanted to put out, which is their bourbon.
Right.
But it was just so good that before their bourbon even hit the market, they already had product recognition. Their logo was out there everywhere because people liked this, because it's a good price point too. It's like like $14 or $20 a bottle or something like that.
No.
Oh,
Did I get shafted?
it should be 20 to 23, I think.
Okay, they got me. It was the reason why I looked is because the price on Specs was one thing, and I got it. Well, they don't sponsor. And the price at the other place was like $2 more, but then this one was on sale for $5 less than the other price. So
so you evened out.
I evened out on the price.
This one should be a lot cheaper in the low 20s. This one should be maybe in the mid 30s.
Okay, yeah, no, that was not the low 20s.
Oh, maybe I'm mistaken. It's been a long time since I bought
inflation. Yeah, you're like it's been
true.
a long time since I've been bumming, because you've been still making your own. Can we? Don't want to talk about that. Okay.
There possibly has been some whiskey made.
Yeah, so you're probably not having to. You're not having to.
Allegedly,
right?
No,
allegedly. No, it's not a real thing.
Actually made. Yeah, no, we actually, me and some buddies rented out a distillery about 4 years ago and made some whiskey, and we just bottled the last of it a couple of weeks ago.
Are you going to be auctioning any of that off?
No, that's all personal consumption there.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, no wonder he doesn't know what the price of the TX anymore.
Yeah.
So, okay, you've also been, you've got that big event, and I definitely want to dive into that. There's only this but you've been on it lately doing a lot of talking. You've been promoting it. Let me ask you this. Do you work for the oil library, or are you over it? Because you bring a lot of recognition to the oil library here in Fort Worth.
I'm on the board. I'm a secretary of the board. So that when I started at Burnett, we had 3 spots on the board already. So they just asked me if I wanted to be one of those spots. And so I did. Okay. So we've been just trying to revitalize and the oil library over the last 6 or 7 years. It's been tough. As a nonprofit that relies on membership whenever oil is in a downturn, and most of the big companies that were members all left. Yeah, it's been challenging. So I kind of provided a fresh look. I've got a long sales background and marketing background before I was in the nerd world of geology, and a little overlap. So that I've been able to help with things like that at the oil library. Gotcha. And then you've also been on this whole tour talking about the Strong. Right. And I want to be selfish for a minute, because I like that area. What is it about that area? Because you've been almost doing an unofficial talking tour about it. Yeah. And, what is it about that area, and what's, because I told you in our pre-meet, I have not been able to make it to any of them. There's going to be more. That's good. Right. So what is it about it, and what's going on with the Strong? Yeah. So first, I've been working at Burnett. When I got hired, part of the reason I was hired is because I have this cross training in geophysics and geology. Right. Luckily, as my last 2 jobs have helped me have. But, we were shooting a huge seismic survey over the 4-6s ranch, 266 square miles, high effort, 55-foot bin spacing, long offset, 3-component, like beautiful data. And so we've been working that for 7-8 years that I've been there. At the same time, the whole Strong play has kicked off to the south of us, more of the Strong sands than the carbonates that we're looking at. Right. But it all just kind of hit at the same time. And so it was kind of serendipity that we had this huge, beautiful data set. We've been working it for so long. And then the ownership change happened at Burnett whenever Miss Marion passed away. and handed it off to her daughter. And we kind of shifted our focus from these conventional, like we've been for wildcatting for many decades, to looking at more unconventional stuff in other areas. So we had a couple of meetings and we decided, let's just let everybody look at our data. And if they want to take a license for free and prospect on it, we'll look at them. And if they want to drill something, we'll let them. So part of that was I'd already, when they gave me the rights to show everything to anybody, I was like, well, I'm just going to show everybody. So I put together this talk, and then they said, well, let's let other people drill it. And so I put together this talk just to brag about all the cool work we've been doing. And then management told me that we were going to actually let people take leases. So I was like, all right, I've already got the promo package put out there.
Yeah.
So I've been going around to everywhere and all the different societies and letting them look at our data and showing some of the fun prospects we've put together.
Right.
And then so people have come in and some have drilled some prospects on the 4.6s, just taking a lease. But it's to your original question, we have this parallel movement of us opening up this data set, but the Strong play, the sands to the southeast is just going nuts because people are figuring them out.
You mentioned two things there. One, people are figuring them out, but then the fact that companies like Burnett has been drilling there for generations or decades. What are they figuring out that's making it so exciting? Are they conventional? Are they non-conventional? Are they the horizontals? What are they doing out there? And what do you see, for what you can? Cause I do know like you, and this, I'm saying something I even tell you when we have lunch, like if you can't share something, right? I mean, I always tell you that.
We all know that. We always walk a tight line, right?
Yes, sir. Y'all do.
So what I've seen, I haven't worked the Strong sands as much as I probably should have, but they don't come up onto the ranch. Right. There's a tiny little portion in the southeast corner that maybe we have some sands. So I haven't looked at them too much, but we have a lot of people that pitched them to us. And what I see is, some old school mapping of channel sands and distributary bar sands. And these amazing geologists have mapped very accurately where sands are. And as you get away from the truly conventional high porosity, you obviously have these lenses that are lower porosity, but they're still just chock full of oil. So you have it's moved, and that's what the boom is now. There's folks finding the areas on the flanks of these sands that have lower porosity that you can just drill a horizontal and slick water frack it, and you have some great wells.
Wow. So with these wells, Grant, I know you said what would y'all be anticipating these wells to come in at?
I don't know. I think some of the early ones have been some really nice, 400 barrel a day plus IPs. I don't know what the declines look like.
Okay.
But I would imagine they're moderate declines. Everything now has a pretty steep decline, but whenever you have, a lot of times when you have these sands, it's similar to like the Parkman sands in Wyoming.
Okay.
It's this little low porosity, so you can put a major frac on them and it'll give you a lot of the oil up front, but then it falls off fast and then has a pretty flat decline after it falls off the initial production.
Well, that's not bad. I mean, to kind of just have something that's got a good flat, even after it falls off, is because that's consistency.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on who you're working. You're different than the private equity guys. Just they want the huge IPs.
Right.
And they don't care about late life. Right.
No.
The smaller companies like consistency.
Yeah.
And we want cash flow whenever you've got your LOE down, your infrastructure built. Yeah. And so I think that might be what drives this Strong play, is that it's a lot of smaller operators that are looking for long-term, and it kind of hits that.
Well, I mean, I do agree. It hits it. And when you look at it, the infrastructure is not going to be inexpensive, but I think if you can get past that part of it, just that play in general, there's still years of production there.
Definitely.
What is one thing about that Strong formation that you've always liked, just in general, like something that's always caught your eye as a geologist?
Yeah, I like, so it's an interesting, I think the BEG does a good job of the Bureau of Economic Geology. They gave a talk at the Oil Library, and geologists have been taught a way of depositional systems where you have limestones and you have sandstones, and they don't work well together.
Right.
So if there's sand, all the carbonate producers die, but what the BEG has shown is that in the Strong specifically, you have this interesting intermingling of sandstones and carbonates that are mutually beneficial, that you don't have this yes or no. It's either sandstone or it's limestone.
Right.
You have this kind of interwoven depositional system, which is, to me, as a scientist that likes difficult problems, is intriguing. But we're at the 4-6 Ranch is pretty much all limestone, so we don't have to deal with that. But as you transition down into the more kind of traditional, where the strong sands are kicking off, it's more complicated than that. So.
Really? Okay. When you say that, I kind of get a little excited because we've got a plan this year and to really kind of get in that area. You and I briefly talked about it many, many years ago, just on a random note, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, wow, here's what we're thinking. But we know that this year that's an area, because we do like those legacy areas, the legacy assets that do have a lot more consistency, because again, cash flow is king, at least for the independents.
Right.
And if you can just keep that cash flow and work within your cash flow, that is something that's huge. And that helps out so much down the road. I think so.
Right. Absolutely.
Now I do have to save a few pennies, it's like, but it just is what it is. And that longevity though, I want to just highlight that you look at Burnett. Burnett's been around for 50 plus years. And I'll leave it there. I don't want to dive into even further back, but it goes further back than that. Mm-hmm. And these are plays that have that true longevity to where you can do some great things for 40 to 50 years easy.
Yeah, especially in the carbonates. The sands are really good, especially the higher porosity sands. You find them, they're well defined. You're able to produce some primary, secondary, even tertiary. The Antandy field is in tertiary recovery right now, and it's still just kicking out tons of oil and gas. The carbonates are interesting because they're usually stacked. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the nature of carbonate mounds, is that they build on bumps. So if you have one build, then you have another one build on top of it. You tend to build them on top of each other. So you just kind of work them from base to top, or commingle them if the pressures work. Huh. And so a lot of these fields are so prolific is because they've just kind of gone in systematically and moved up the hole as they find more pay and more pay. So it's pretty exciting.
Wow. I love it. Nowadays, especially out in West Texas, it's how deep can you go? But in our case, it's going up the other way.
Up, yeah. Totally different. And
traditional.
So much cheaper.
I was about to say, and the traditional way 9 times out of 10 always is. Yeah. I want to ask you this: with President Trump in office, have you seen kind of like all of a sudden a boom in oil and gas companies popping up out of nowhere lately?
No.
Oh, I've seen one or two. I'm like, who are you guys?
No.
I was just curious.
We haven't seen anything different.
No, nothing different yet. You want to talk about the economics?
The economics of
President Trump and
probably not. You probably don't want to talk to me about those economics.
Well, I do want to talk to you though about what you're up to. I thank you for that. I'll butcher it again because we know how many times it took me, but it's the AAPG
Southwest section.
Yes, sir. What is that? And let's open up another bottle and dive into that.
Awesome. Yeah, I can explain and pour at the same time. So
I love it.
The AAPG is the American Association of Petroleum Geologists. It's a national group, and they have separate areas. So we fall under the Southwest section. It's a pretty large area. It covers New Mexico and Oklahoma and some of the Mid-Con, Texas, not quite South Texas. But so what we do as a smaller, I got it right here. As a smaller group is just we get all the local operators of the area and come together once a year for a convention. And we have a convention that just kind of focuses on the city.
Okay.
So what I didn't even talk about what I poured.
Okay.
So this is the next step. So last time we had the TX whiskey blended whiskey.
Okay.
Now this is their bourbon. So this is what they were making while they were selling this and promoting this.
Okay.
Sitting back and letting this age for at least 3 years. I actually know some people over here, and was a buddy of mine, Jason, and I were able to sample barrel number 3 the week before this went public.
Okay.
Straight from the barrel, and it's a really good Texas whiskey. It's pretty sharp. It's a lot of oak, kind of what you expect out of Texas whiskey.
Okay.
But it's really good. Now they have this huge distillery with the largest column still west of the Mississippi. It's enormous. If you haven't been to the Whiskey Ranch, you got to go. So we'll be doing a social event there.
Yes.
And the VIP tickets get tours of the entire distillery and a tasting, as well as a bottle, some barbecue rub, and a glass that has the logo on it. So,
whoa.
but yeah, it's
Why? Come try this. Let's see here. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
That one's got more to it for sure. There you go.
Yeah, it's a lower proof than the 114. I think these are usually 90 proof. It's still only nine proof points higher than this, but it's doesn't have any of the added. This is a true bourbon.
Right.
Doesn't have any added flavors or anything like that. So you get more just classic oak and caramel.
Yeah, but that's good.
Yeah.
That is after a hard day
Good hard day.
of diving.
It's a
in
hard
numbers.
whiskey for a hard day.
Oh my gosh.
They're really good at, whiskey making's a tough business, and there's a balance between how long you age it and if it's good enough to put out, but you need cash flow. And so they've become really consistent. Early on, they had some really good batches and some not so good batches, and now, they've become really consistent. What I'm most excited about TX is that they have really interesting experimental releases. So distillery only, they'll do some high rye bourbons and some cask finishes. They have a sherry cask finish that's really, really good. But they're clever about how they combine their whiskey into other ways.
Okay. So you're not your networking event, but one of your events is going to be at their distillery, correct?
Yeah. So the convention goes from April 26th through 30th.
Okay.
On Tuesday is the social event. So it's 5:30 to 8:30. It'll be at the TX Whiskey Ranch. We'll have a bunch of games. So the idea this time is that we'll have some custom cocktails. We have catering. We have really good Bricks Barbecue is going to cater it.
Okay.
And then we'll have a bunch of games. So our sponsors that signed up as like actual social event sponsors, they're going to have the opportunity to create like a little game for their company.
Okay.
And all of the attendees will get a card that has basically a passport. If you go and play that game, you have opportunity to get more tickets to go into the raffle, and you get to meet the vendors and talk to them and just compete in these fun games. We have like a chipping game, like a closest to the pin. We have a putting game. There's a handful of little fun games that are going to be played. And then we'll give away something like a shotgun, or I'm not sure. We haven't picked the gift yet, but we'll give away something big.
Man, you guys are just doing everything y'all can to make this a great event.
Well, like you mentioned that our sponsors have really stepped up, and I didn't know what to expect. As the convention chair, they give me all the papers from the past conventions, and so we set our budget and expectations on those, and then you change them for the city. And, I know I'm good at raising money. I'm a good salesman, and Amy Patterson is my sponsorship chair, and she's so well connected and really good at this too. So I was like, you know what? And I went aggressive and I put our budget really high for sponsorships, and we blew past that in like 2.5 months.
Wow.
And so sponsors have been so excited about this, because not only is it Fort Worth, who we have a reputation of being good, having camaraderie, like people show up to events. But it's also the 100-year celebration of the Fort Worth Geological Society.
Oh.
So our local geology society has been around for 100 years. They've seen such amazing things. And so we're focusing on that and the great history that oil has been in Fort Worth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Why? What do you think of this one?
Oh, this one was great. It not only tastes good, but it smells good as well. And then it just stays. It has a good lasting flavor. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Long finish. Yeah. It's oily. I'm really surprised. So I'll be honest, like for a long time, TX made all their whiskey out of these pot stills.
Okay.
And then they moved to this big distillery and sold out to Pernod Ricard for a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
But they changed to this huge column still.
Okay.
And I was really nervous that they're changing their still style. Their everything's going to change. But I am incredibly impressed with how consistent they've made their product through that huge change, because it still tastes very, very similar. And it's actually, in my opinion, I agree. I think it's more oily and it has a longer finish now than it did early on.
Well, I think it's got a good resonating long. Yeah, like I said, it stays with you, but it's good. It's like, oh, you can enjoy that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this hits the spot
on a hot day with a piece of ice. This is pretty fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. So what made you want to do just jump on this one this year for yourself, just because you were the chair, or what?
No, that's a good question. So I was the Fort Worth GS president. Yeah. I went through those ranks and I took a few years off, and I participate kind of in the background for an event similar to this a few years ago. Okay. And I just saw the whole thing play out. I was on all the calls and I thought, I could probably do that and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And so Renee Wixveen and I are both kind of in the same area. We participate in a lot of these things. We could have done this. We decided that we were going to both run for president of the AAPG Southwest section. Okay. And whoever lost would be the general chair. Okay. So she won. She's the president of the section, but I'm the general chair. So I would have been okay either way, because honestly, she's planning this with me. Right. But yeah, I like giving back to these things. I didn't have a lot of help getting into industry early on. I was very lucky that a colleague of mine was a fantastic geologist, got a really good internship. And since she was so good, the company started looking at our school. Okay. And so I got an internship just because she was so smart. Right. And then, I did okay after that, but I didn't really get a lot of help outside of that. And so I've really wanted to give back to our community from a community building perspective and helping students get jobs. Man, that's so awesome. And again, you are, somebody, you talk about other things you've done. I think it was that Geological Society that you would do those things at the Flying Saucer here in Fort Worth, right? They were a little bit bigger when you were doing them. They were big. I'm sure. But I know, because we even were able to sponsor one of those, and we went to a couple, and everybody there just having a good time, actually connecting. And again, in the past, I know our mutual friend JP Warren has had you do things. In fact, I was talking about you. I'm tempted to try to do something there in Doug. We'll see. Oh yeah. And I was like, you know what, to get you there to just to highlight certain whiskeys, I think would be huge. Yeah. That's my first whiskey tasting ever to do with JP. Yes. And it went excellent. Yeah, it was a good time. It was a very good time. You mentioned that you've got all these different events going on. It's a week-long deal. Well, pretty near a week. But you do have a Monday event, correct? Yeah. And that's your icebreaker. The icebreaker on Monday. So we have a free short course to all the registrants all day Monday. And then we have a great icebreaker that evening that is basically a memoriam of two legends of the oil field that passed away this past year. Yeah. Bob Gunn and Greg Norman. Wow. So so we put that together. I booked some good talent. Yes. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Yeah. Do a lot of people know that he sings? No, very few people know that Burnett Oil has a vice president of engineering who is actually a very good and well-known country music singer. First of all, I can't believe he's letting it out there, because when you mention Burnett Oil, just in general, people are like, oh, you know those guys. You know who Burnett Oil is? I'm like, kind of like, all of a sudden, I'm like, no, wait, what do you hear? But when people think of Burnett, they think of you guys. Y'all are an echelon. Y'all, last time I checked, y'all had the Burnett TCU hospital, I think. There's a lot of buildings named with their name. Yeah, there's a lot of buildings. Burnett. People ask me, so where do you work? I work downtown Fort Worth. Like, which building? Burnett Building on Burnett Street. At Burnett Plaza. At Burnett Plaza. Yeah. But that's what I can't believe is that. We'll get him on here, but I can't believe he's gonna.
when people talk about y'all, they're like, "Oh man, these guys are almost not human," and in a good way, you know, because again, you guys have been around for so long. So who are we bringing on?
Wes Hanna.
Wes Hanna. All right, Wes, come on in here real quick. Now you mentioned the Icebreaker. Yes. And you got Wes Hanna doing that, and I can't believe it. You were able to actually get that guy out of the office.
Yeah.
But we might have dangled the whiskey word in front of him a little bit. I don't know. Wes, how are you?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
I'm excited when Trey goes, "Hey, I might be able to get Wes." I was like, "No, you're not going to get Wes."
Well, you told me about the whiskey. Twist my arm. You know what I mean? Get me out of here.
But man, it's great to like I said. I know you and I have crossed paths once or twice, but to actually have you here, because you guys, y'all are always doing more every time I talk to Trey, and it blows my mind because from a business standpoint, how strategic you guys always are there at y'all's office, and there's a reason why y'all been. I've told you that once or twice. There's always a reason why y'all been around for as long as y'all have. But that's not why we're here. We're talking about the Icebreakers and the huge event that you and your team have been just seriously creating. It's awesome. I'm excited. But you're doing the Icebreaker. Can we talk about that a little bit and what's going on? And while we do that, can you pour us another round?
Love it.
Which one are we going to do?
All right, we're going with the old Granddad 114. This is an old, really great bottle. The reason I brought this on is I always like to bring in a bottle that is good for the money. So this is like a $26 bottle. It's one of the best you'll taste. It's got a high proof, so it holds up to old fashions and things like that. So I'll pour this. I'll give a quick interview.
Obviously, it's good.
So Wes is an engineer at Burnett, but he's also a country music singer. And so, I guess I could give you two. But whenever we were putting on this, we knew we were going to put on an Icebreaker, and it was going to be a tribute to Bob Gunn and Greg Norman, who passed away this past year.
Yes.
And so I wanted to have a country music style singer, because the theme is Western, as we talked about. And Wes is an engineer, a couple of doors down in my office, and I asked him if he was available. He checked his schedule, and he was. So.
Of course I am. Yeah. Well, it's on a Monday night, so we don't have a whole lot of live music opportunities on a Monday night.
Exactly. So.
Well, all right. Let's taste this one. Cheers,
guys. I poured yours real big. Right?
Well, I'm going to drink it properly this time.
So you want to, I guess, tell a little bit about yourself and your music career?
Yeah, sure. So I started playing music back in my college days at Texas A&M, and really got into it there. But after I graduated, it was, either try my luck as a musician, which we all know is a pretty tough way of making money. And I was tired of being broke. So I had a petroleum engineering degree in hand. I said, hey, what am I going to do? So went to work. I moved out to West Texas, worked out in the Permian for about 9 years out there. And then ended up coming on with Burnett. It's almost been 8 years now.
Wow.
And that's about the same, right after Trey started. So Trey and I started around the same time. So I came over to Burnett, got over here, and, again, I'd done some music stuff off and on through like church and different opportunities like that, but really hadn't done a whole lot of, writing, playing, doing all those kind of things. Just mainly like, I think I played a couple gigs, a couple barbecue joints and stuff, restaurants in the Midland, Odessa area. There's not a huge music scene there. But moved here to Fort Worth, and obviously there's a budding music scene here. It's kind of like I would say what Nashville was before it became Nashville. So recognize that. And then coming out of COVID, actually that's how I got back into it. Was everybody was at home stuck by themselves, and I was like, man, and oil prices were where they were. I was like, man, I might need a backup option here for a career, right? So, but no, it wasn't just that. I just realized how much I missed doing it, and started writing music again. I was like, man, I gotta get this going, and so put a record out back in 2022, and I'm working on a new one coming out in August this year.
Are you really?
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna do I'm not even going to give that song that's out right now any credit, because I listened to it for the first time the other day. You already know which one I'm talking about, probably. Can we bleep it out if I say it? Why? Oil money?
Oh, God. No.
Okay. All right. Can we bleep it out? All right. Yeah. Right? It is a TikTok or something.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know that's where it came from, but yeah.
Well, it's funny because Wes and I drive out to the ranch a lot, and we've had some long drives talk about music, talk about everything,
Yeah.
talk about whiskey. And so I got to know him a lot better. And a lot of his songs are oil field related because I mean he was a logging engineer. He spent some time. He was a roughneck. You know, he knows all the sides of the business. So it's really cool to be able to work with him. And a lot of his songs, they talk about that. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I tell you what, for you though, to have that experience being out there in the field changes the game. I was talking to somebody last week about that. And it's like when you're actually out there in the oil field, working those night shifts, doing that work, right? I just saw, y'all can't see, but like Wes almost had some flashbacks there for a second to those night shifts. I feel like that really changes the level, especially when you come into the office. Like, no, because you can relate, you understand, and you can see things that other people, geologists, can't see.
Yeah, definitely makes it easier to visualize. You know, when somebody's telling you what's going on location, you can kind of pick it up, and then also just experience and different things you witness. Like, oh, what do we do now, boss? Well, this is what I've done in the past. It's worked.
The guys working on the rig, they can get a sense for if you know the book smarts of what's going on or if you've been there.
Right.
And, you know, I'm book smarts all the way. I've never worked on the rig. You know, I'm the one that comes in and people laugh at, you know, with the clean hard hat and clean boots. But Wes is completely different out there. It's fun watching him interact with everybody because he's done all those jobs. And so it's and now he's VP of engineering Texas for Burnett Oil.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. And he can sing pretty good too.
Well, I'm excited. That again, we've already highlighted that thing's getting bigger and bigger every day.
It is.
Your sponsors are getting, they're getting that. What is that one that they do for the AAPG? I mean, you're rivaling that thing for sponsors. I don't know for sure, but I mean, there's a lot that you've got now. What kind of music can we expect, Wes?
Well, like you said, country music. We are in Fort Worth. You know, and I'll be the first to tell you, man, when I first started out, I thought I wanted to be Kurt Cobain or something. I realized I can't sing like Kurt Cobain. And all my music, you know, you listen to my early stuff, and it's funny because it's pretty rock heavy, and then you hear my voice, and you're like, who is this hillbilly, you know? And so I've come to terms with that. Not that, you know, it's a good thing. I love country music, and I've really kind of just settled into my sound. So you're going to, you know, it's going to be, I would say, kind of true, what I call more like traditional. You know, there's a little bit of that Texas country in there, but it's really just kind of the old school, like straight up country
honky tonk
music. Honky tonk is a good way to describe a lot of it. So yeah, it's that's what it is. It's
plus he can do a couple of really nice covers of some old rap songs.
All right. Are we talking
maybe if we have enough tips coming through?
Maybe so. I have dabbled in the rap world.
Well, what do you think of this $26 whiskey?
I think that for $26 to shut up and take my money, this is great. I mean,
right?
I love a good deal on whiskey. I mean, good whiskey. You know,
this is good
stuff.
I'm really enjoying it. Why? Did you have some wine?
Oh, I had some. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This was delicious. My goodness. I might get some on the way home.
Yeah, it's one
Just
of
don't
my.
let it go up your nose because it's hot.
Oh, man.
Yeah. All right, I'll leave that one to you, rock star.
Man,
Whatever those rock stars are doing.
go to the moon before my show.
Yeah.
Don't give me any of this.
You know,
listening.
I like this is an old brand. They've been around a long time. They're one of the only brands that made it through Prohibition. They were actually producing through Prohibition as medicine, and they have different releases. This is similar to like their higher end. Jim Beam makes it similar to their higher end stuff like Booker's or Baker's, but they have 3 offerings. It's like a 80 proof, 100 proof, and this is the 114. I like on these cheaper whiskeys, I like going higher proof because they can hold up to cocktails better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I usually enjoy mine over ice, so higher proof is nice.
Yes, and you know it's funny. Ever since we started doing these, I get to sound like I know more about like, well, actually, you know, the rock and the geology and the aquifers of Texas sound are so much better, but also very similar to the ones in Tennessee and all the people at the liquor stores that are buying this stuff. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, yes, of course, you know. But no, this is very good, and this would definitely be nice over a big rock, you know.
Yeah,
especially after a long day, probably with a good cigar. Ooh, man,
perfect
game changer. Now where's the Icebreaker event at again?
It's at the Fort Worth Club with the rest of the convention. It'll be the kind of the kickoff. We have a short course on Monday And then the Icebreaker starts right after the short course finishes. It'll be 5 to 8, I believe that's what it is. And so we're going to honor 2 legends of oil, Bob Gunn, Greg Norman. We're going to have some photos of them and some history and some of their personal friends. They're going to share some really cool stories and, just have good music, good time, good cocktails. And there's actually going to be a student mentorship event also happening at that time, because we really Cholla Petroleum is our Cholla Inc. is our title sponsor. And I didn't even pursue them for that. They came to me and said, we want to be your title sponsor, but we just want to make sure that the students get taken care of. So they really wanted their sponsorship to go towards students and student events. And so we have this really cool mentorship networking event for students where we're pairing them up with industry professionals and so that can walk them through the whole conference and meet people with them and show them how do you compose yourself in one of these industry settings.
Very cool. Wow.
Awesome. You didn't tell me all that.
Yeah.
I really like those guys over there. They're good partners.
Yeah. At Burnett, we have a couple of longtime, really good partners. Cholla is one of them.
Right.
Mac Energy is another. We have a lot of those private companies. Our goals are aligned.
Yes, and I always like to call them, not in a bad way, and it comes from the old TV show Dallas, cartel. That's what JR called it, because it was that's what JR called the family, because it was a group of 5, on the show, and it never was just the Ewings doing it, even though it may be Ewing Oil on the show, but there was 2 or 3 other families involved at all times, and JR always found a way to be JR, but that's what I remember him being, and that's what a lot of people don't know is there's so many families that do this work together.
Right.
And because everybody's aligned, they know what's going on.
You kind of have to. It's completely different operating from cash flow versus somebody that's operating private equity.
Yep.
Your pace of development has to be different. And so we just don't, we can't do that. So we have a lot of partners that are kind of in the same boat as us. We're aligned. And the good thing about it is that you can move fast whenever, you have a Rolodex of people. There's hey, this asset, we can't take it down ourselves, but we know X, Y, and Z can, and you don't really have to do a lot of convincing.
No.
Once you've built some trust and some longevity.
And you talk about that, and all I'll really say is that there's about 6 families right now that are exiting that private equity. So you get back to the, hey, here's what we can do. And that's about it. It's all I know.
That's great.
But no, that's what makes it a lot neater is hey, you can do that. But also, it's not overnight by any means. It takes time, and you're looking at assets. You got to study them. And but again, when you have a group, a collective that you already work with, that you do things with, it makes it just so much quicker. So it's going to be at the Monday night. Icebreaker is going to be there. How many guys you got in the band?
Oh, right now our band it's a 3-piece. So it's myself, my wife Stacy plays the upright bass with us, and then we have a friend of ours, Michael Durkin. He plays the fiddle.
Yeah,
and occasionally we'll pick up different players here and there. And if we need a fuller sound, a drummer or like a pedal steel guitarist, but primarily we try to play as a trio. It's just easier to book gigs and get to places and schedule 3 people versus 5, and it's just a little bit more flexible, and it fits in with our all of our where we're at in life right now.
It's coming. You're about to get
I got a full-time job here. I have 2 boys. And like I said, my wife's in the band, so it's not like, hey, honey, I'm going to leave and go on the road. Wait, you're the bass player, so what are we going to do? What are we going to do with these kids now?
Well, we only booked just Wesley Hanna.
Yeah, it's just me.
We wanted a little bit more, a little quieter setting. It's kind of a little intimate setting.
Yeah.
We hope that he could do some more of his off.
He didn't want to pay my babysitter.
Oh my gosh!
Hey, we're a nonprofit here. We're a nonprofit. We can't pay Wesley Hanna band money.
Yeah. Well, my wife, she works for a nonprofit. She can sympathize.
Well, sophomore albums have always been the biggest albums for a lot of people.
Yes, sir.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, technically, this is my, I guess, junior album. I did put one out in college, but a very different sound, and of course, so many. Yeah, well, maybe not that, but I thought I was going to be, Cody Canada from Cross Canadian Ragweed.
Yes, I was
Randy
going to
Rogers or somebody like that. They were
Yes.
blowing up back then.
Yeah.
And they're still blowing up. But I'm so far removed from that time, time wise and sound wise. So it really feels more like a sophomore album.
Sure. Well, I tell you what, everything that you and your team over there, and every now and then I get a chance to finally catch up with this guy, and y'all are always just doing such a great job, and you run a pretty tight ship over there, is what these guys tell me.
I try to,
and again, I think it has to deal with the experience that you bring to the table.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Leverage that as much as I can.
I'm trying, Wes.
That's all I got.
So yes, and then I think next time around, you're an integral part of that place. That's what they told me verbatim. That they can't work without you, live without you.
Oh man,
there you go.
Wasn't me.
That's nice. Nice to hear.
But no, I'm excited again, Wes, and I cannot thank you enough for doing this and really for the formal introduction, Trey, because I know I've met him once or twice, but to kind of be here in the green room with him and have some good old granddad, right?
Old granddad.
Old granddad 114, and that means it's 114 proof.
Yeah.
And so I cannot thank you enough. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on.
I still can't believe he's going to be singing. That's going to be so exciting.
Yeah,
and,
it's fun. I've got to know him, like I said, over the years, and so we've had long truck rides. And he's very opinionated in his country music, and so you're gonna hear a really good set of music that he there's a lot about the oil field.
Yeah,
it's fun.
So no Debussy or whatever that guy's name. No long time road or whatever, anything like that. I'm butchering those names, by the way. I'm butchering the names of those songs.
It's okay.
You give me some George Strait and I'm happy.
Exactly.
Okay, so for people that have not already signed up or haven't even seen one of your many marketing deals, how can they get a hold of you guys?
Yeah,
what
so
y'all doing?
The best way is to connect with me on LinkedIn. So that's where I do most of the promotion of this. Trey Cortez on LinkedIn. But we have a website. It's AAPGSWS2025.org. We've got all the information there, and you can register now. Registration's open. We're about to close. Probably April 1st, we'll be closing down sponsorships and everything. We have to start printing everything. So I don't know when this is going to run, soon. But so reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll connect you into the way. We need volunteers. We just need people to show up.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot of work. And so, yeah.
Wow, man. With everything that you are doing, you mentioned the Choya that y'all are doing the mentorship program there, and you highlighted that even before Wes came on. What is something that you were really excited about getting out of this for this mentorship program?
Man, that's a great question. I really appreciate students, and we're in a difficult time with students right now.
Yes, we are.
A lot of students don't know exactly what oil and gas does, or they have a perception that is incorrect about the role of oil and gas in the world. So, but we still have students that want to get into oil and gas, and which is great. So I like the fact that we'll have industry professionals that are one-on-one with students that are going to show them how to connect and network with people, what to look at, what to not waste their time on.
Yeah.
And then they just start connecting, and who knows when they may need something from an intern or something like that. So I'm really excited with just seeing personal connection from students. A lot of the geology students in the area are international students, and which adds a whole nother level of complexity to how they connect. They don't know the culture, they don't know the language as well, but they're brilliant scientists.
Okay.
So we need brilliant scientists in this field. I don't care where you're from.
Yeah.
I want you to be in oil and gas, making good decisions. Right.
We still are at a point too where we do not have a lot of people coming into the industry. The numbers are up, but they're not as good as they could be. Right.
Right.
And you can always say that, but it's true. It's like, we still have a shortage. Mm-hmm. And I think, geology is so important to what we're doing. you know, what you guys are doing, you know, it is a science. You know, people forget that we're not just looking at rocks all day, or you get your black light, right? You know, I know that's what my guy does.
Tells it all.
And we make him get there, or I don't make him. I mean, he makes the drilling crew, you know, start getting samples, and then you get into it. All right, let's slow down the rig, add this much more mud, you know, or less mud. I don't know, to really get a good grasp of what the samples are. Right. Am I saying any of that?
No,
right?
You're on the money.
Am I on the money? Okay.
I think the perception of what we do, maybe to the outside world, is different. My
you got
daughter,
a rock collection, and that's it.
Oh, definitely, I have a rock collection.
I know you do.
My daughter has a good summary. I think her perspective on it, at whenever she was like 6 or 7 years old, my oldest daughter, she asked me why the clouds look that way. And, you know, I'm an earth scientist. I know I've learned all these things, right? And I told her, and she's like, how did you know that? I was like, well, I'm a scientist. And she's like, yeah, of rocks. So I think that's kind of a perspective that a lot of people share, is like, yeah, these guys, they lick rocks and they use black lights, and that's about it. But, you know, obviously there's a lot more to it.
A lot more to it. Yeah. And, you know, plus the clouds got to be in a certain spot to really pick the good. No, I'm joking. So, all right. So what are we drinking here?
Yeah. So we're going to finish off with, in my opinion, this is arguably the best whiskey that's made in Texas. All right. Wow. So Still Austin has done a great job. So maybe I need a caveat to that statement, because some people are going to, they've won lots of awards with this. People are going to come at me for this that are whiskey people. So Still Austin is the best Kentucky style bourbon whiskey out of Texas. It's really approachable. It tastes more like a true like Kentucky style bourbon from anything else in Texas. And that's hard to do in Texas because our temperature is so fierce that it creates these really powerful flavors through all the interaction of the whiskey to the wood, because it's happening faster because of our temperature fluctuations. So they've done, and Nancy Fraley is a legend of whiskey who has helped out with Still Austin, and she has some really clever techniques that she uses to tone down that Texas like punch. So this is, in my opinion, of Still Austin, this is their best whiskey release, and it's cask release, so it's high proof, but it is really complex.
What's the proof?
58%, so 116. So it's similar to the old granddad. But what you'll get compared to the old granddad, this is going to be much more complex. It'll have multiple flavors that come across your palate, and then something else even on your after you drink it down.
Smells good. Oh.
Yeah, you get a lot of cinnamon, vanilla, nutmeg, like these spices that are just.
It's like Christmas.
It is like a Christmas. And this holds up too. If you drop some water in it, we don't have water. Gosh, why didn't we bring water?
Why would we?
If you drop some water in this, one of the cool things I like to do with whiskeys, especially that are cask strength, is drop a little water in them and look at them, and you'll see the oils that are swirling around, and that tells you a lot about, you know, how they filter it or don't filter it. And the oils are what sticks to your mouth and gives it that long, lingering finish.
Wine was over there just shaking his head on this.
It's
good, right?
It's good, right?
On his way out, Wes said that he was taking that one with him, and I understand why. That's delicious.
I made the mistake.
Spice. Yeah, that's great.
I made the mistake of telling him this was my favorite.
I probably should have asked you first, but I felt he was more of a guest today. And in fact, you know, this is your third time on the show. I am going to do something for the 5-timers, and I don't think you've heard that one. I don't know, but JP has been on 4 times.
Okay.
Keith Stelter, I don't know if you ever officially met him out of West. He's been on 4 times. Jim Holmes, I think, has been on 3, and then my good friend Brianna Johnson has been on 3 or 4 times, and this is now your 3rd time.
Yeah.
Should have been your 4th.
Should have been my 4th
because you were going to be on with Dr. Turco.
I had to back out on that one.
Yes, but I didn't know that y'all really had like again the Strawn and her whole doctoral was on. I call it the Fort Worth Basin, but that she called it the Southwest Oklahoma. We don't want to talk about that. But yeah, so this is your 3rd time on. So anyway, I do want to apologize. I was like, I kind of offered that to Wes, without even asking, because you know, and I love the way you were like, oh yeah, that's right. He gives these. I was like, yeah, like everybody's getting a bottle. I'm not taking all these.
Well, I'll be like, so it's kind of a funny. I told him this too. You know, I have a very large whiskey collection, and I like giving Texas whiskeys away to people because people have a misconception about Texas whiskey. this is my go-to gift bottle always.
Okay.
I have never owned a bottle of this, but I've bought probably 20 bottles of it because I've just gifted them all away.
Okay.
I think this is the best, like, to change a diehard, like, bourbon's only made in Kentucky guy.
Yeah.
This is the one that changes their mind.
Now, I think I'm going to butcher it, but you said cast iron or
cast strength.
Cast strength. What is that?
So that means the proof that it comes out of the barrel,
Okay.
it's the same proof that it's in the bottle. They don't add any water.
Don't add any water.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's high. And that's why it's 100. This is actually low for a cast strength, but that's it's 116 as a cast strength. But Nancy, one of her strategies and one of her tools is that she adds this, and I love this. She's such a chemist too. She adds water throughout the aging period of these barrels,
Okay.
which a lot of old time distillers and blenders are anti that. But what it does is, and she said this first, I asked her this question on an Instagram live one time.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh. So what it does is it changes the concentrations of water, which is the universal solvent, right?
Right.
And it makes new, after it's been aging for a while, it makes new reactions take place, pulling more sugars out of the wood and things. And those sugars will turn into things that kind of mild the flavor that most Texas whiskey is going to punch you in the face with.
Now let me ask you this. Okay, so for those out there that this is their first time watching you and I, because I do tell people all the time, it's like, well, I mean, I even have a great geologist and we talk about whiskey.
Yeah.
And
go back to the first one first.
Yes. Yeah. And I go, so for those out there, what makes Texas again, just in a quick nutshell, because I know we definitely highlighted that on that. So go back and check out the first episode. We really highlighted it.
Yeah.
But what makes Texas such a great place? Because this isn't the only award-winning whiskey in Texas.
Yeah. And kind of interestingly enough, I have another small plug then. Garrison Brothers is another Texas distillery that allowed us to go on to their ranch and actually sample their water. We looked at cuttings from their water wells and things like that. And what we found was that most of the aquifers in Texas are limestone aquifers, which is always heralded as the best aquifer for whiskey for a handful of reasons. It's a good particulate filter. You don't have a lot of stuff coming in. It holds in a lot of iron and sulfur. But what it also does is it acts as a pH buffer. So if you have a water with a lot of calcium carbonate in it, the water it won't change pH a lot. The calcium carbonate has two different chemical cycles that it'll switch either this way or that way to normalize to a very small range of pH, which the reason why that's important is that yeast likes a very constant pH whenever it's creating the alcohol.
Yeah.
So Kentucky, one of the reasons why Kentucky is what it is that it has the same thing. It's got limestone water that has high calcium carbonate content, low iron, low sulfur. So Texas aquifers are very similar, and in some cases, the exact same time stratigraphic rock as Kentucky. So that's led to a lot of whiskey being very good in Texas, similarly to Kentucky.
Okay. Very nice. Man, in a nutshell. Yeah. In a nutshell.
Yeah. That's the smallest nutshell I can make.
Golly. Well, everything that you're doing right now, again, when is the event?
April 26th through 30th. So 26th is a Saturday. We have two field trips, one on Saturday, one on Sunday.
Okay.
We have a K through 12 STEM teachers workshop on Sunday. That Total and BKV are providing a bunch of help to teach a bunch of K through 12 teachers about earth and environmental science and energy, and providing them with, they're going to take them on a site visit. There's going to be some operations here in the Barnett.
Oh, the Total?
Yeah.
Oh, Nikki Morris and all them doing it?
Yeah. Well, Nikki Morris is at TCU now.
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of Nikki Morris, that's the other really big get for us. I asked a handful of people to be our keynote speaker, and they all said yes.
Okay.
And so we have a keynote panel. Nikki Morris is the moderator.
Okay.
Who was formerly a TEP or Total Barnett. Larry Brogdon of 47's Oil is going to be on it. Andre Griffin from XTO and now at TCU on the board, Rebecca Harrington, and Gideon Powell from Cholla.
All right.
They're all going to be. So Rebecca Harrington works at BKV, who now operates most of the Barnett. And so Andre Griffin, she saw kind of the handover from, George Mitchell and Larry Brogdon 4.7s over to the bigger companies.
Yeah.
And so we have this whole history of the Barnett on a panel.
When is that?
It's on the Monday.
Okay.
Monday, I believe. Yes.
I'm going to sink into that one.
Yeah. No, it's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I'm sorry.
Tuesday.
It's
That's
Tuesday
okay.
morning.
We got a lot.
It's the kickoff. Yeah. So Monday is the short course and the icebreaker. Then Tuesday morning we kick off with my opening remarks and then that keynote panel.
Okay. I'm sneaking into the opening remarks.
And it's going to be really, really
I'm
good.
going to pull your name. I'm going to say, no, I know Trey Cortez.
I can probably get you in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. I did not know that. No, Nikki.
I haven't announced it to everybody yet.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully by the time, I promise we're going to get this one out soon.
No, I'm glad
to get this one out soon.
I mentioned it with Troy a few weeks ago.
Okay.
On the PBE podcast, but I have him all locked in and we have content.
Yeah. By the way, I never met him before. Never saw. That was awesome. I did watch that.
Yeah.
That was good. That was really good.
He's
man.
fun. We have fun.
Yes, y'all did. Yes, y'all did. And I always think about the Goonies. Yeah, we know Troy. I always think about the Goonies. And I think it's cool how Troy is doing so much. I will say that Gideon and that family, they are phenomenal, and they've been doing great things for a long time. The Burnett family has only continued to give. Brogdon, the 4.7s group, what a team. And Nikki coming over to, as you know, I'm working on my MBA. Yeah. Nikki being over there, every single person that has taken over that position, I feel like has raised the bar every time. From Davis to Ireland to Dr. Blunser to now, and if I missed somebody, I apologize. But now to Nikki, I mean, you can't, the experience she has, the knowledge she has, and I think she really demonstrates that the Fort Worth connection is so strong.
Agreed.
That people don't know about it. And she is the epitome of how strong a true Fort Worth connection can be, even if you do come from Baylor Bear. But again, so one more time, how can people register for the event?
Yeah, please look me up on LinkedIn, Trey Cortez, or go to AAPG Southwest Section, AAPG-SWS2025.org. We're on there. And all the registration details. We have block a room at Kempton. It's going to be a good event. Yeah.
Well, Trey, as always, I know you're busy. We definitely went over time today. For everybody out there, also, if you have any questions about whiskey, he is a guy. Instagram, is that still?
We're taking a break.
Taking a break on Instagram.
It's too much. I got too much going on.
I know, dude. Yeah. I just got on that a little while ago. But okay, all right. But if you do got whiskey questions, he's a guy that can get it done. And he also does hosting parties for a fee. And if you want him to wear an actual suit jacket, it's going to cost extra. But no, Trey, I cannot thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, sir.
Wyams, great to see you, sir. And thank you as always. And to all our listeners out there, thank you. And we'll see you again on another episode of The Crude Truth.
Again, The Crude Truth would like to thank today's sponsors: LFS Chemistry, NAPE Expo, Air Compressor Solutions, Sandstone Group, Exec Crew, Texas Star Alliance, Pecos Country Operating, and Real News Communication Network.
The easiest way to start your own podcast and TV show? Real News Communications Network. Stand out from your competition. Produce streams of high-quality social media content. Become a thought leader in your industry. With RNCN, you get to be the host. We handle everything else. Tour one of our 3 locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Colony. Call 972-402-6333 or visit launchashow.com to find out more.